everyone. This video is going to demonstrate the CCNA Security CBTNuggets lab and my setup of it. So I've been following the CBTNuggets labs by Keith Barker. From there I have obviously had to configure a network within GNS3, and this is how I'm going to demonstrate it. So what we've got a host machine or running Windows XP in VirtualBox connected to the switch 2, and then connected to the router, and then from the router into the firewall, and from the firewall into a 10.10.10.0/24 range network. Now what this is allowing me to do in the network area, and this is emulate an internet connection. I didn't want to go the route of connecting to an internet connection, so I've emulated an internet connection. I have a web server using Kali Linux, which is the old backtrack. So on here we will be having a web server running, and I will then be able to access from the Windows XP machine. I will be able to access the web server through the firewall, and I will demonstrate how the configuration works. So first things first, in step 1 we are going to configure the switches. The 3 switches here, what they are 3725 IINS routers, and I am going to disable the routing on them and create basic switches, fast Ethernet or Ethernet switch modules. Just to quickly show you what I've done is in the configuration from the switches, under slots, general slot, normal comes in the standard, and then I've added a network 16 Ethernet switch slot or module into that slot. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly boot everything up. Just make sure all the network connections are correctly established. You'll notice that not everything boots up together. It starts off with router 1, firewall. So we've got a delay. I've set a delay in preferences to start everything up after a certain amount of time. Here comes the Winbox WinXP. It'll be the client that's coming up now. Just going to minimize that for now, we're not too worried. And then the Kali Linux. So I'm just going to press enter and go into that for now, and I'll minimize that for now. We'll worry about that later. Just waiting for all the switches to come up. Switch 1 is up already. Okay, so we've got everything up and running. Let's have a look quickly. So here we've got the show IP interface brief on the one router. That's the main router. This will be the router connecting us to the firewall, and from there going out to the internet. So here we've got on fast internet 1.0, we've got the IP address 10.1.0.1, and that is also /24, which is this switch 1 here for the switch networks. Now obviously here I can add more devices later on in the video series. I haven't actually seen the full video series. I've only saw the first video for the network, and it was required to have this setup, and unfortunately I didn't have it set up yet, so that's why I'm doing this now. Okay, so IP interface brief. Alright, so that'll then go through to the switches. We're going to be using 10.2.0.1. That'll then pass through switch 2, which will then pass through Windows XP. You'll notice I've got a hub here. That's just for interconnecting devices. It's not necessary. I prefer to do that simply because if I wanted to change connections, I don't have to worry about shutting down anything down. It's an issue with GNS3 sometimes where you'll lose a connection and you'll have to restart the whole topology and things like that. I just like to use a hub in between just for in case. Sometimes it bombs out anyway and you have to restart the topology regardless. But I find that if I just put a device in between integrating devices, it doesn't have that issue as much. So show running config. Here's the configuration that I've set up for the for router 1. Just to quickly go through there. Terminal emulator that I'm using is Terraterm. I prefer that over PuTTY. Secure CRT, I do have it. I just don't know how to use it extensively. I I like my Terra term for now. Switch 1 configuration, show IP interface brief. Here I've used the VLAN 1 for connecting. It's connected to Ethernet 1/0 up. VLAN 1 is 10.1.0.2/24. Show IP route. Should be nothing. There's no gateway on this one. I'm not concerned about it too much. Do a quick show running config. Here we'll see the configuration for this. Hostname is switch. Here you'll see I've disabled IP routing due to this being a switch. I've configured it as a switch and not as a router. Interface FastNet, I've disabled this FastNet 00 and FastNet 01 because I'm not using the built-in Ethernet modules or Ethernet interfaces. I'm using the switch module. So here we go. So we've all got all this done, and I've also gone and specified speed and duplex. I just prefer to do that. Let's have a look. Interface VLAN, IP address 10.102.255.250. Okay, if we do a ping to the router, is 10.1.0.1. There we go. We got a success response. So 10.1.0.2 to 10.1.0.1 respond, no problem. Okay. Let's switch 1, disconnect from that one, switch 2, same thing. Let's just go out there. Okay, show IP interface brief, same principle. We've got fast Ethernet 1 and fast Ethernet or 1/0 and 1. That's because they've got an interconnecting hub, and regardless of the case, VLAN 1 is being used at 10.2.02. Show running config. Have a look and see we've got no IP routing. Once again, configured as a switch. I've specified where the VLAN data must be set, which is on the VLAN.dat file. And once again, disabled all the other interfaces. Enabled these interfaces. I've just enabled them all. Same thing. VLAN 1 10.2.02.255/24 subnet. Show what's it, switch, no, the VLAN switch, VLAN switch. You can see VLAN 1, all the FA10 to FA1/15 is in that VLAN. If I do a ping to the router on that 10.2.0.1, oops, 0.1, and we'll get a response from the router. I haven't actually checked this before. Let's check the neighbors. Show CDB neighbors, router 1, fast Ethernet 1, and I've got the platform 720. That's right. Forgot to mention that the router I'm using is not a 3725. The main router is a 7200 router. Switch 2 is done, and the same with switch 3. Exactly the same configuration. Show IP interface brief, and there we've got up for FastNet 1/0, up, and we've got the VLAN 10.3.0.2. Show running config. Here we see the switch 3, no IP routing, and this option here. VLAN data file, exactly the same. The only difference is the actual host name and the IP address. Show IP route on this one. Let me just have a look. Got the switches configured. Let's have a look and see and make sure that we've got the Windows XP machine configured properly. The Oracle VirtualBox is the virtual hypervisor that's used. Let's have a look at the network settings quickly. Under network settings, they were enabled prior to starting, so once you've enabled them, you can manipulate the devices or Ethernet interfaces on the virtual machine while it's running. If you did not enable it before, you'll have to shut down the virtual machine first and then restart the virtual machine. Okay, so on adapter 4, we've got a generic driver with a UDP tunnel. Now that is the GNS3 connection, which is this connection here, which is on Ethernet 4. That connection there from the hub to Windows XP. That then IP address will be 10.2.0.12/24 with the gateway of 10.2.0.1, and that gateway will be the router 10.2.0.1. So we're happy with that. Cable is connected. Okay, let me log in there. So logging into the Windows XP machine. I have an FTP server running on here called Files as a Server. That's just there for in case. Open network connections. Let's have a look. So we've got the 4 connections. I've got a local area connection just for the hell of it. I've got a bridge loopback connection, which I sometimes use as well, which connects directly to my PC on the Microsoft loopback adapter. I also use the bridge connection on occasions to connect over the wireless connection on my laptop or whatever the case may be. So in network connections here, support 10.2.0.12, 10.2.0.1 with my gateway. So let's have a look. Command prompt, IP config. Here we've got an IP config 10.2.0.12 as previously seen. If I ping 10.2.0.1 the gateway, I'm getting a reply from the router. Okay, so that's the router there. I don't know if telnet should be enabled. 10.2.0.1. Does it require but not set? Okay, so obviously the configuration of the router has been set for incoming, but I haven't set a password on it. So just to show that it is in fact connecting to the router or able to access the router. So the objective then is to furthermore pass traffic from the Windows XP machine through the router into the firewall, through the firewall and into the web server. So what I'm going to do now is check the router configuration. Okay, so show IP interface brief. Well, traffic then needs to go from the 10.2.0.1 range through the 192.168.0.1 range into the firewall at 192.168.0.2. So here we've got show IP route. So I've set up a static route. All traffic 0/0/0/0/0 goes through 192.168.0.2. 192.168.0.2 is the firewall. The firewall is the ASA firewall, ASA 8.4 I think it is. Let me check. Yeah, 8.42. Alright. So in order for me to get traffic through there, obviously I need to have a default gateway so that all traffic traveling to all networks passes through this router 1 into the firewall. The firewall then will take all the traffic and then it will pass it on to where it needs to go. If I can just show the configuration, what I've done on the router's configuration is slot 1 is a fast Ethernet, 2-port fast Ethernet. Slot 2, 3, 4 also 2-port Ethernet on 4 slots. Okay. So first one is for the switch 1. The second slot is for switch 2. First slot is for switch 3, and so forth and so on. IP route is in place, and there you have it. Okay, so for me to ping the firewall, I need to have the firewall configured with an IP address. So just to go back, ping.10.2.0.12, I can ping the Windows XP machine, no problem. Okay, so let's get onto the firewall. Enable, no password, show running config, host name. So here we've got 6 interfaces, Ethernet gigabit 0, 10.10.10.2, which is the out interface. The ASA firewall uses naming conventions for the interfaces to determine where traffic goes, and by default it will provide a security level. So interface gigabit Ethernet 0, name interface outside, security level 01, IP address 10.10.10.2. Same with gigabit 1, inside interface 192.168.0.2, so forth and so on. I then created a firewall rule, object network object any, subnet, all subnets, other subnets. Within the object rule, we created a NAT rule, NAT, in the object inside, NAT inside outside dynamic interface. Okay, and then the root inside. That wasn't actually necessary to do that. But anyway, I did it anyway. Should actually clear this config and do it over. Okay, so if I can ping 192.168.0.1, no problem. Okay, there's no gateway to there. Why is that not working? Okay, so let's have a look. So ping 192.168.0.1.2, which is the firewall. Okay, so for some reason it wasn't working, so what I did was I rebooted the firewall, and I think it should work. 192.168.0.1. Yep, and IAM.2. I should be able to ping 10.2.0.12. Yes, I am. Alright, let's get the Linux system configured, the virtual website. Okay, so Kali Linux comes with a web server installed, pre-installed. It's just not enabled. So I need to go ahead and enable it. So under Linux, open a command prompt or terminal, Windows service -status all. So it comes pre-configured. Kali Linux comes pre-configured with Nginx and Apache. So on top Apache 2 and at the bottom Nginx. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to service Nginx start the service, and I should be able to connect to it, no problem. I can use iceweasel on the local machine, and I can go localhost. There we go, welcome to Nginx, working on the local host. I have config for checking the interfaces. Okay, so on this one, Ethernet 0, let's quickly go back into the config, network settings. So that one is connected to the connection there. So what I need to do on this one is connect to 10.0.0.1. Okay. And this is Ethernet 0. Okay, so I have config ETH0 10.10.10.3/24. Okay. Root. Let's go root add net 10.10.10.0 net mask 255.255.255.0. Gateway is 10.10.10.1. Show the root. Okay, good. Ping 10.10.10.2. I can ping the 10.10.2, which is the ASA firewall. Let's have a look if I can ping 10.10.3. Yeah. Pinging might not work. I think we do have a restriction on ICMP packets, so pinging might not work to that network. So let's go, and there we go. Well done it. Just a quick one here. When we have a look at GNS3, we can have. I'm doing a GNS3 check on this link here between router and firewall. When doing the HTTP request, I get everything fine. Ping is what's blocking me. Okay, good. So the topology is working properly. We've got the firewall, we've got the web server running, and yeah, nothing else to it. And that concludes this video. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please ask me in the comments. We'll take it from there. Thank you very much.